Hey, good morning to everybody. A happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3:33 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, before I start this video, I just remembered something. I got a comment. I was reading some of your comments yesterday, and I got a comment. And sometimes I don't realize that you guys aren't seeing. You guys aren't seeing everything that's going on here, and things might seem weird, or you might not understand some of the things I say. I opened up a video the other day and I said, oh, you guys hey, you surprised me. All right. And to me, it was kind of funny because what had been occurring here. Okay. I got a comment from somebody, and I think it's somebody that watched the Britney Spears video, and they probably didn't know me very well. And they said, yikes, a YouTuber, obviously that says, you're surprising me. Like, that's ridiculous. Of course, that doesn't make any sense. Who is this guy, this weirdo? And let me, I commented back, and I kind of laughed at this because what had been going on here before I said that. I had been doing retakes some mornings, right when I start a video. I'm not sure how, sometimes it doesn't go smoothly right off the bat. And I did like 10 or 12 retakes, like 5-second retakes. And I kept turning the camera on, shutting off, turning on, shutting off, looking at the time, turning on, looking at my notes. And I turned back, and I wasn't sure if it was the camera. Honestly, I wasn't sure if the camera was on or off at that point. And I said, oh, then I saw the red light, and I was like, oh, you surprised me. And so it was more just out of amusing myself. I just wanted to say that. Sometimes I get comments, and I just found it interesting. All right, let's get into this video. Today's video, this is just an opinion. I don't have, I found a story that I think is extremely interesting, and I think a lot of you are going to have an opinion about this. It's I don't want to call it weird. It's different. And I'm not judging. I'm 57 years old. A lot of my original core viewers are around my age. And I've discovered, I really thought that I was pretty wise to the world. When I was in my 20s, when I was in my 30s, I was sure of it. When I was in my 40s, I was doubtful. Now that I'm in my 50s, I've kind of just come to the realization that you learn throughout your whole life, and that's just the way it is. Okay, like I said, I'm not judging this guy, but on Instagram, Kyle Gordy 1234. Okay, I just found this story today. It'll be the first link right down below. And Kyle is a sperm donor. He's a 31-year-old man from California, I believe from Los Angeles, California. And he's a sperm donor. He's a self-styled sperm donor. He started this off of, he was talking to a friend, he says, and he goes into the woman comes over. They contact him on Instagram. He goes into the bathroom and fills a cup, and he actually says this in the video, and the women inject it, and he is now the father of 70 children. 70. He said, I believe he said 40 or 50 something, and then I guess there's another 20 or 30 on the way. Wow, man. Like I said, at 57, I have a few things to say about this. And, I'm not criticizing this guy. I think this guy isn't thinking ahead very much. Okay, so he says he says he has a group chat. He says he has a detailed list of all the women and their contact information. And in my head, I picture napkins laying around. In my head, I picture napkins laying in drawers and on top of the coffee table. With a woman's phone number and a few numbers scrawled after it, a date and a phone number and some stains. And honestly, I don't know how detailed this information is, but that's what I picture. At 31, I think back to when I was 31 years old, and I was still heading towards the height of my addiction. At 31, my world was really falling apart, to be honest. But that's me. But just my outlook on the world. I really thought that I was old. I really thought, my life is, half over, and this is it. And at 57, I realized that's ridiculous. Okay, so now he says, he goes on to say that he has group chats with all the women, on Skype or whatever, where they all sit and talk and they all talk about the baby's features. And this is just, this blows my mind. It's so weird. Okay, there's a few things I want to bring up here. First of all, Kyle Gordy, I gotta wonder about his true intentions. He says he's doing this for like charity, to give these poor women children, so they don't have to go to sperm bank, so they could actually get to know the donor, that they're friends with the donor, and he thinks this will benefit the kids. He says it like this. He says, as the kids grow up and if they want a relationship with the father, this isn't anonymous, okay? And if they want a relationship with him, well, that's fine with him. And now I'm thinking, man, this guy has no forward vision at all. What might be coming down the line for him? My first thing that I got to ask is, is there? He also said this. He said he hasn't had many successful relationships. He's not in a relationship. To me, it sounded like he's never even been in. This is what it sounded like to me, that he's never been in a serious relationship at 31 years old. And I don't know if things are different now, with this incel thing. I don't know. By 31, I had two very serious relationships where I considered marriage. My first girlfriend from high school, I went to the prom with, wanted to marry me, and I thought I was too young. And then I lived with a woman for a good 5 or 6 years. So it makes me kind of question his motives here. To me, the first word that popped into my head is this guy thinks he has a harem. I think part of me wonders if he gets off on this. The whole donating the sperm, impregnating women. I really have to ask myself. Honestly, I think there's a big psychological component to him, to this whole thing. I think none of these people are looking forward. Okay, he says that this is better than a sperm bank because his personal relationship with the women. Now, this is another thing that made me think too, and this is kind of a criticism for the sperm banks too. In all my relationships, in a normal, regular relationship, over a year or two, you get to know the person really good. As you guys know, you've had relationships, and there's that honeymoon period for the first month or two where you're telling each other everything the other person wants to hear. After a year, 2 years, 3, 4 years, you know the other person through. You know everything about them. You know everything about their family. You know everything bad about them. And I think this is important. I think about my addictive, my disease of addiction. My grandfather was an alcoholic. I mean, this could happen to anybody, but at least in a relationship, you get to know the person, you get to know the family, you get to know what you're going to be dealing with from your offspring. In a relationship with him or a sperm bank, it's just what he wants you to know, or the sperm bank wants you to know. I think the sperm bank would be more detailed for things like MS or multiple sclerosis down the road, or addictive behaviors, what have you. Addiction ran in my family. My grandfather was an alcoholic. The last 30 or so years of his life, he was completely sober, but I have some very bad memories from when I was 4 or 5 years old. One of the girls I dated her for a little over a year, and we were very serious. We were pretty much living together, and this isn't all that long ago. This is when I was in recovery. And over time, I started to discover more about her and her family and stuff that I just decided I needed to opt out of. There was just two uncomfortable relationships between siblings and parents, if you know what I'm saying. I don't want to say the actual word here. Seriously, I had never come across this before, but there was inappropriate relationships, what I would definitely call inappropriate relationships between father and daughter, or sister and brother, sister and sister. And I decided, I never told her this, but I decided to opt out of this. This is one of the things you discover that you would never expect. but you discover in a relationship. Okay, now let's get to the obvious here. I can only picture if and when good old Kyle Gordy makes it to my age. Say 57 years old. Say, how long is that? That's 30. He's 31. So in 26 years, okay, in 26 years, how many of these kids, I don't know much about adoption, but I do know that a lot of kids get curious. They want to know their father. They, of course, once they get older, they want to know something about their real father. So how many of these kids are going to want a relationship, a one-on-one relationship, not a Skype relationship, not a group Skype where they get together with all the other kids. They're going to want a one-on-one relationship. So how is this guy going to set up his 24/7 work week where he's having relations, where he's having a fair amount of time with up to 70 different children, and he's still doing this. So this number could go up to 100, 150, who knows? I don't think he's looking far down the line here. There's going to be a lot of kids that aren't going to, future adults that are not going to be, they're probably not going to be too happy about this relationship. And here's another thing I don't think Kyle Gordy is realizing. At 31, he probably sees his friends getting married, having kids, and he thinks his life's passing him by, which by no means it is. And what is going to happen when more than likely he does find a girl or a woman, and he gets married and has his own kids. And now this whole idea is going to look very bad. Once he he probably will get into a serious relationship and have his own kids, maybe by the time he's 40. He's going to look back, and his wife and his future kids and probably him, he's probably not going to want, this whole life now, he's probably going to want to just kind of put that in the rearview mirror. Your mind changes. You grow throughout your whole life. And I don't think Kyle sees that at all at this age. With 70 offspring, 70 kids, with some on the way right now, at 31 years old. And from, the look of him, the look of his apartment, he says he's a part-time accountant, which means he works occasionally. And I always look in the background. And you can't tell much from my background, but it doesn't look it looks rather sparse. So I don't think this guy's doing all that good. I don't know what he'd have to offer 70 kids down the line. His part-time accounting, and how when these kids come to him and ask him about college tuition maybe or stuff like that. I don't know. I foresee a very hectic future for Kyle Gordy, 1234. Let me know what you think. The links will be down below. I can't believe I ran this long, 13 minutes. Holy cow. You guys have a great Tuesday.